Gerald did the math twice because he didn't believe it the first time. He'd spent 11 hours over 2 full weekends turning free pallets into a backyard bench. 11 hours of denailing, sanding, sorting through cracked boards, and starting over twice because the wood split wrong. When he finally added it up, factoring in what his own time was actually worth, that a free bench had cost him more than if he'd just walked into a lumber yard and bought the wood outright. He called me that week, more than a little annoyed, and asked the question that's actually behind this entire video: is pallet wood actually cheaper, or have I just been lying to myself for years? That's a fair question, and it deserves a real answer, not the answer you usually get, which is either pallet wood is always free money from people trying to sell you on the hobby, or just buy new lumber, it's not worth the hassle, from people who've never actually built anything from reclaimed wood. The truth sits in between, and knowing exactly where the line falls is the difference between projects like Gerald's bench actually saving you money, and projects that quietly cost you more than you realized. Let's start with what pallet wood actually costs, because free is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that word, and it's worth breaking apart honestly. The wood itself, yes, often costs nothing. But disassembly is where the real cost hides. If you're not experienced, taking apart a single pallet, properly pulling nails without splitting boards, sorting out the ones with rot or deep cracks, salvaging what's actually usable can easily take an hour per pallet. For a project needing 4 or 5 pallets, that's already half a day of labor before you've cut a single piece to size. Add sanding on top of that, because reclaimed boards almost always need more surface work than new lumber straight from the yard, and you're looking at real hours stacking up fast. Here's the part most people don't factor in until it's too late, the same way Gerald didn't until he actually sat down and did the math. If your time has real value, and for most men, especially once you're past the years of trading hours for a paycheck, your time absolutely does have value, whether you're spending it on a hobby you love or something else entirely. Those hours matter. An hour spent denailing warped boards is an hour you're not spending fishing, not spending with grandkids, not spending on the next project you actually wanted to build. Now compare that to new lumber. You walk into a store, you pay a set price per board foot, and you walk out with wood that's already the exact dimension you need. No denailing, minimal sanding, no sorting through damaged pieces because a percentage of every pallet load turns out unusable. The cost is higher up front, sometimes significantly higher depending on the wood species and current lumber prices, but the labor cost drops to almost nothing. You're buying your time back, essentially, by paying more for the material. So which one actually wins? Here's where it gets specific, because the honest answer depends entirely on what you're building, and this is exactly the kind of decision that trips people up when they don't have real guidance going in. For small decorative projects, a serving tray, a picture frame, a small shelf, a planter box, pallet wood wins easily, almost every time. The disassembly time is minimal because you only need a board or two. The character and weathering of reclaimed wood actually adds visual value to a small decorative piece, and the total labor investment stays low enough that even accounting for your time, you come out ahead compared to buying new lumber for something that's small. But for large furniture pieces, a full dining table, a big outdoor sectional, anything requiring a significant amount of matched, consistent lumber, the math starts shifting the other direction, and this is exactly where Gerald's bench project landed. Large projects need more wood, which means more pallets, which means more hours of disassembly and sorting. And here's a detail that matters more than people expect: consistency. New lumber comes in predictable, uniform dimensions every single time. Reclaimed pallet boards vary, sometimes significantly, in thickness, width, and quality, board to board, even pallet to pallet. For a small project, that variation adds character. For a large piece where dozens of boards need to fit together precisely, that same variation becomes hours of extra work, shimming, sanding, and adjusting joints that wouldn't have been a problem with new, consistent lumber from the start. This is exactly the gap that a real, tested project plan is built to close, and it's the actual reason I use tedswoodworking for most of what I build now, rather than guessing my way through material choices project by project the way I used to. The plans in that library don't just hand you a design. They specify which material actually makes sense for that specific build, based on exactly this kind of labor versus cost math, worked out by someone who's built the project enough times to know where the real trade-off sits. That's the difference between a plan that just shows you what to build, and one that actually tells you the smartest way to build it. Gerald's bench, in hindsight, was exactly the kind of project where new lumber probably would have made more sense large enough that the labor hours genuinely outweighed the material savings. He knows that now. He still built it from pallets, and he'll tell you he's proud of it regardless, because there's real value in building something with your own hands that doesn't show up on a spreadsheet. But he also told me straight out, knowing what he knows now, he'd think twice before defaulting to free wood on his next big project without actually running the numbers first. That's really the whole point of this video, and it's worth remembering the next time you're standing in a garage deciding what to build with. The best builders don't pick one material out of habit and stick with it every single time. They look at the specific project in front of them, the size, the amount of wood needed, how much their own time is actually worth to them, and they choose whichever material fits that particular build. If you want plans that already specify the right material for each project type, so you're never left guessing whether pallet wood or new lumber makes more sense for what you're building, the link is in the description below. Free wood isn't always the cheaper choice. Sometimes it is. The trick is knowing which project you're looking at before you spend your first hour on it, not after.